Hello, everyone. Welcome back to some APECON lessons. Today we're moving on to Unit 2, which is we're looking at the forces of supply and demand. So we're looking at what supply and demand are in this chapter and then how we kind of change our minds about supply and demand according to the different products. And we're going to look at all of that and how it all connects. So let me get this in present mode so that we can follow along. I think it's a lot easier because I can go slide by slide a lot easier rather than just scrolling down. So today specifically, we're going to talk about demand. So this whole chapter is going to look at what factors affect buyers, demands for goods, sellers, supply of goods. That's more of tomorrow, and then how they connect together. Today and the next couple of days, I'm going to just focus on demand alone and then supply alone. And then after you know the difference and the ins and outs of both, we're going to combine them. Okay. So a market is a group of buyers and sellers for a particular product. So there's thousands of markets all over the place. There's the market for iPhones. There's the market for water bottles. There's the market for oil changes. Every different good and service has a market where buyers and sellers are purchasing and selling those. And a competitive market is one where there's many different buyers and sellers, and each has some type of effect on price. If I don't show up as a buyer, that affects the price because the sellers are going to want to lower the price to entice me in. And the sellers, if they know that it's a hot product and everybody wants it, they have control over the price and can increase it. So we're going to assume, just to make life easier, that we're in a perfectly competitive market when we're talking about supply and demand. And with that, what we're assuming is that all goods are exactly the same. So for the market for apples, an apple is an apple no matter what you buy. We're assuming that. If we're looking at the market for phones, all phones are exactly the same, just for the sake of ease. And we're also going to assume that buyers and sellers, there's so many of them that no one buyer or seller can really affect the price. Okay, each one is a price taker. Whatever they get, they get. So we're going to assume for this chapter, not until we get to Unit 3, but we'll really look at different types of styles of markets. Now we're looking at just all things are exactly the same and we take the price as is. All right, so what is demand? The quantity demanded of any good is the amount of goods the buyers are willing and able to purchase. It's not just willing, but they actually have to do it. I'm willing to go buy a yacht right now, but I'm not able to, so I technically can't demand it. The law of demand says this: the quantity demanded of good falls when prices go up, and vice versa. So all other things equal, what that means is when we see prices rise, we demand less of those. If we see prices go down, jackpot, I'm buying more. My quantity demanded goes up. And that's what I encourage you guys all to do. So like if you're going to the grocery store after school or Casey's or McDonald's, whatever, and you see they have a deal, let's say you're going to McDonald's and they have now double cheeseburgers are 4 for $5. You're like, jackpot, I'm totally buying this. And you tell the worker that your quantity demanded has gone up. And they will look at you like you're crazy, but that's what's happening. You saw the lower price, your quantity demanded, the number you want, has increased. So how do we figure this out? Well, we're going to look at this. How do we see this math-wise? I just told you the common sense part of it. We're going to look at the data of it by creating a demand schedule, and that shows the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a particular good. So we're going to use lattes, for example. We're going to use one person's lattes. So you imagine you're Helen and you like lattes and you're seeing how much you would demand at each price. So I want you to notice that her preferences obey the law of demand. As prices, if you look, as prices increase, she has less demand. She demands less of the lattes. So how would we see this on a graph? We're going to always put quantity on the x-axis and price on the y. And we would measure that out, plot each point, and you get a demand curve. Demand curves are always inverse. They're always demand we're always going to see going negative because price and quantity have a negative relationship in demand, meaning that as one goes up, the other goes down and vice versa. Okay. So I just showed you an individual's demand curve, one person. I just showed you Helen. But what we'll be using a lot in this class is the market demand. And that means it's the quantity demanded in the market of all buyers at each price. So let's assume, for sake of ease, that an entire market consists of Helen and Ken buying lattes. So what they would have is you add up their two. So at the price is 0, Helen would want 16, Ken would want 8. So the entire market's demand, quantity demanded, would be 24, and so on and so forth. As you'll see, it's 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, and 6. You just add up and it makes the entire market. So what we would do there, the market for demand curve, it's you make it exactly the same way as if it was just for one person. You put quantity on the x-axis, price on the y-axis, and you will do that every time. Quantity is always x, price is always y throughout the entire course, throughout the next course too, macroeconomics. So you'll see that you put quantity on the x, price on the y. All right, so that's it for today. I'm showing you how to plot this and what it means. Next, we're going to get into what causes an entire shift. There's things other than price that will change our demand, and we'll talk about that in the next lecture. For now, you guys will just go and work on the demand worksheet with this.